Today, the Human Rights and Palestine Solidarity Organization, BDS South Africa, with their partners called a press conference with South African celebrity, supermodel and TV personality Shashi Naidu to relay the outcome of their meeting with her. Shashi recently took to Twitter, airing views and comments which caused a massive social media backlash.
There has been the rather unkind message on social media that came from Sashi's account, and Shashi has responded to that shortly after that subsequently, but in the nature of social media it has done the rounds far and wide long before anything else can be done. Whatever starts living, unlike with human life, these days whatever starts living on social media never dies. Anyway, so we are here to deal with the case. Shashi approached BDS 2 days ago to talk to us about her own position and how it has come to this. And then we had an extensive 2 meetings with her about the way forward. None of this, so it was basically her initiative. Subsequent to that, to the social media post, there has been, understandably so, with the vibrancy of our democracy and largely the vibrancy of social media, there has been a lot of response, and some of them have been rather unkind. Unfortunately, not unusual also, have been rather unkind, and there have been threats made to Shashi, we're given to understand, by those who opposed her initial views. And subsequent to that, when news of her retraction got out, regrettably, there were even more threats, but this time from the Israeli lobby. And so it seems as if the Israeli lobby vied for threats and intimidation and so on, and that is despite the appeal or the complaint from the South African Jewish Board of Deputies yesterday that she was pressurized to withdraw her statement, and that this is a failure of freedom of speech and our country's right to freedom of speech. So it seems in the case when you want to say that the Gazans or the Palestinians are evil or that they belong to the slime holes of this country, then you're free to do that. But when you want to point to any of Israel's things, then other slurs get thrown at you. You're anti-Semitic, you're Holocaust denier, and so on. So freedom of speech seems to flow one way for a particular sector. Well, I guess many political entities in our country operates in this way. We claim a commitment to freedom of speech as long as you support our speech. So unfortunately, there's been a lot of threats since, and enormous pressure. It's not, I don't know, I mean, it's pressures like this and death threats are quite traumatic, okay? And while the person who says, I've received death threats, is expected to kind of say, I received so many, or it came from so-and-so, I couldn't identify it. It is really Sashi's prerogative to go into the details of this, but they're always traumatic, and I'm generally reluctant, you know, to kind of reopen trauma in the court of the press.
Here was Shashi's official statement.
So, I think I was speaking to a friend of mine this morning that asked me why would I be doing the trip to Palestine, and I said that, look, I've made a very public apology, and a part of that apology was to educate myself and to re-educate myself. And me approaching BDS, and I want to make that very clear, is I'd approach BDS myself, but I also want to know that in no way does this mean that I'm radicalizing myself to one side or radicalizing myself to another, because I feel like almost this entire debate is also sparked to become a political debate, and you almost felt caught up in the middle. I feel for me this is a humanitarian issue. I've been very disappointed in myself for not knowing and being fully aware of what was happening in Gaza, and sometimes ignorance can be just as bad as having those thoughts. So it's been a tough couple of days, but I think a lot of people have asked me about, are you worried about losing work? Are you the endorsements? I think from my side, that is not a primary concern of mine at the moment. I think rightfully so, a lot of brands should distance themselves from all this conflict. But the one thing I think I've realized in all of this, I said to Mohammed, do you think anyone will come today? I was expecting to see 1 or 2 people here, but I do have a voice. So if that is the only thing I have left, I can use that now in a positive way. Or I could sit back and say, look, I give up, I'm going to cry myself, and we all know I cried, but I can stay crying, I can say I'm going to kill myself, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the voice that I have to discuss the humanitarian issues, to share what I learn. And as I said to him, it's a journey, it's going to be a journey for me. And I hope that other people that might perhaps have been ignorant before can share in that journey with me, learn more, know more, understand more. I feel certainly in the last 48 hours, the last 3 days, my eyes have been opened to what is happening. And you can't unsee, when you've seen, you can't unsee that, you can't unread it. So I think my life has changed its course in a way, and probably started a completely new journey for me. But yeah, I think, sorry can't just be a word, it must be an action, and my apologies will come in my actions moving forward.
We asked her to explain in what context she referred to Gaza as a shithole. This was her response.
At the beginning of my meeting with BDS, I have explained what happened, and I think a lot of people, because when initially, and I also have regretted in giving telephonic interviews because your words can be taken out of context. So what had happened was I'd posted a picture with a friend who's a DJ who'd chosen to perform in Israel. Someone had written nasty comments about his pro-Israeli views, and my exact wording to my friend was, look, I want to defend my friend. What can I say as an educated decision, because my knowledge isn't sufficient of the situation in Israel and Palestine. Can you help me draft an educated response? So I had to then, when we had the meeting, I said, look, people are doubting the sincerity of what I'm saying. Can I please show you my phone? I've taken it out and showed that that is exactly how it happened. They saw the timeline, they saw that, and I idiotically I was in Ibiza on a sponsored trip, having a good time, just, copy, this sounds, I read the first few lines which spoke about dates, and then just copy paste. So it wasn't my commentary, and like it was important for me for them to know that I was telling the truth in terms of how the commentary on my page transpired, so that they can trust what I'm saying. Yes, it's not my choice of words, and I think every single person who read it that is close to me said, Sashi, that is definitely not your words. My mother said, Sashi, like, who wrote that? Everyone wrote to me that knows me and said, who wrote that? That wasn't you.
The model says she will embark on an educational trip to Palestine.
Like I said, it was a mistake, but a mistake that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life. I think we've all done things that, and I can take that. We literally the next day, have you never done something and thought the next day, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? And literally that will be the biggest mistake probably that I've made in my life, and or hopefully it will be the biggest mistake I've ever made. It certainly is up until this point, and I will regret it for every day of my life. But perhaps I won't either, because for me it's certainly open dialogue, and and made me aware of issues that I was blissfully unaware of before. And now, like I said, you can't unsee it, and I want to be involved. I want to be a part of that passive change. And the one thing I can say is, having opened and created all this dialogue, that I've committed to educating myself and to doing more. And I would want and hope for many of the people that have spoken up so verbally and to join me in doing something to create change. So, it's very easy for me to have sat behind a computer screen and copy and paste it. It's very easy to sit behind a computer screen and say, do this, do that. But I think this is a time now where we all join together and say, okay, what are we all going to do collectively? Because it can't just be about, I support Palestine by putting a bunch of flags on a screen. It's like, what do we do now to support the cause? Now that I'm aware, I'm in this, I'm involved, I can't take a step back. Maybe that was destiny for me. But I implore and encourage the others who have called me out to do more for the cause, to promote, to fundraise, to do whatever they can in their capacity, because I think this issue has become bigger than just me.
Nashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.